As a practice manager, practice owner, you know that the key to consistently attracting patients online is by ranking well in Google. But how do you do that? Should you focus on local SEO or SEO in general? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Refractive Revenue Podcast, where we give surgeons and practice managers like you actionable tips and advice to help you generate more leads, book more consultations, and drive more revenue so that you can take your practice to the next level. I'm your host, Eric Barbour, and today we're going to be discussing the difference between local SEO and SEO and why it's important for your practice. So if you're ready to improve your rankings in the search engine results, then this is the episode for you. So let's jump right in. So what exactly is local SEO? Local SEO is really focused on one thing, and that is getting you or your practice ranking in the map pack. Now, what do I mean by that? So when someone in your market or your city runs a search for LASIK, Smile, cataract, or any other type of service that you might offer, you want to make sure that you appear in the Google Maps section of the search engine results pages for those particular keywords. So here's an example of a search engine results page, right? This area that I've got highlighted in red, this is the Google Maps section of the search engine results page. The paid ads appear above the map section. Those are appear as a result of your PPC efforts, and the organic listings appear below the map pack. These appear as a result of your SEO efforts, and we're going to touch on that in a second. But the area we're focused on right now as it relates to local SEO is the Google Maps section that I have highlighted in red. Here's an expanded view of the local pack so you can see it better. But again, the focus of local SEO is how do I get my Google My Business listing ranking in the local 3-pack, which is what you see here. Now, you'll notice that there's 3 listings appearing, naturally occurring listings that appear as a result of these particular practices having their Google My Business listings optimized. And on the top, there's also an ad that appears. So there's actually 4 results in there. We're going to kind of cover that in another episode, but that's a way to sneak your way into the Google Map Pack. But again, we'll touch on that in another episode. But local SEO is focused on making sure your Google My Business listing is appearing in the Google Maps section of the search engine results page. So that begs the question then, what is SEO? So traditional SEO is focused on the blue links that appear underneath the map pack. And again, we'll go back to the same search engine results page, and you'll see here that I have highlighted the area beneath the Google Maps section, right? And these are the websites that naturally occur in the Google organic listings based on solely their SEO efforts, right? And so when you think about traditional SEO, this is more, this is focused more on the technical aspects of your website. So things like on-page and off-page SEO. So for example, is your content structured properly on your website? Are your paragraphs and pages titled correctly? Are the images labeled correctly so that Google can actually read them? Is your keyword strategy on point? Do you have inbound links? Things like that. So again, SEO is your pure technical aspects of your website that gets you appearing in the organic listings that appear beneath the map pack. But here's the key thing that I want you to understand. Both local SEO and SEO live synergistically. They're not mutually exclusive. So in order to really rank well in the local 3-pack, you can't ignore ranking well in the organic listings. In other words, you got to have a sound technical SEO foundation in order to do well with local SEO. So both of these kind of work hand in hand. So let's kind of talk about some of the components of local SEO. And when you think of local SEO, there are 5 key components, right? It's your website itself, it's links to your website, reviews on Google and other sites, having an optimized Google My Business listing, and citations, right? So let's take a quick look at each one of these. The first key component is your website, right? We just covered several aspects of things you need to get right with your website, but basically, you want to make sure your website is technically sound from an SEO perspective. You want to make sure it's mobile optimized, and you want to make sure visitors stay and browse around on your website instead of leaving immediately once they get there. So you got to make sure that the content on your website is interesting and sticky, if you will. The next thing is whether or not you have links, also known as backlinks, pointed towards your site, right? And links are when someone else links back to your site from their website or from an article or a blog. And this is an indicator to Google that the content on your website is valuable. So when someone links back to your site, it actually gives you authority, right? So both your website and your backlinks factor heavily into traditional SEO, but Local SEO has 3 extra things that we need to make sure that we get correct as well. The first thing is your reviews on Google. And I know there are a ton of places that people can leave reviews for medical practices. They're all important, health grades, so forth and so on. But let's face it, right? Where's the place that most people are searching, right? If they're thinking about having LASIK surgery, if they're having a problem with their vision, they're thinking about having cataract surgery. Do you think the average person is typing in, healthgrades.com or wellness.com, or are they just opening their phone or their computer? Generally, it's going to be a mobile device, and they're typing in, how much does LASIK cost? LASIK surgeon near me, right? They are going to Google, right? So you want to make sure your reviews on Google are stellar, right? And you want to make sure that it's enough impetus to make them continue exploring more and learning about your website. Doesn't mean other locations that you can have reviews aren't important. It just means that Google is front and center when it comes to making sure your review game is on point. The next thing is your Google My Business listing itself. You want to make sure that your listing is fully optimized. Things like whether or not your contact information is consistent. Is your business description interesting? Have you picked the appropriate categories? And then there are also behavioral metrics that Google looks at, like, are people engaging with your listing? Are they adding photo themselves and viewing the photos that are there? Are you adding photos consistently? Are they reading your post? I mean, those types of things. Unfortunately, a lot of people will set their Google My Business listing up and then that's it, right? But I want you to think of Google your Google My Business listing as a plant, right? That you got to continually water and nurture for it to grow. And the final thing is citations. A citation is simply a listing of your name, address, and phone number somewhere on the web. This is also known as your NAP. So in places like Health Grades, Yellow Pages, Yelp, WebMD, Vitals.com, you want to make sure that your practice is listed in the same manner on all these different things, right? Google wants to make sure that your NAP appears consistently across the web. And again, NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. So the more citations you have, the more reviews you have, the more optimized your GMB listing, right? And we take those 3 things, right, and we combine it with both your website content and links. Think of it as like the recipe for success with local SEO and outranking your competition so that you can appear in the Google Maps section. All right, that is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, what I want you to do for me is make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please hit the like button and the notification bell so you get notified when I share a new video like this one. Also, if you know someone who may benefit from this content, please do me a favor and share it with them. It helps us grow the channel so that we can help more people. And if you need help making sense of all of this, give us a call. We would love to help. Again, my name is Eric Barbour. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have an awesome week, and I will see you on the next episode.